Hello, dear friends. Here we are. Wisdom for the Spiritist Practitioner. This is day 20th. We've been working together for 20 days, counting today, on these messages that were brought in by the loving and kind spirits through the medium Chico Xavier. And this message, right here and now, tells us about the importance of valuing, giving more credit to the Spiritist instruction. This is a conversation for Spiritist practitioners. And I'm here on Facebook Live with you and also in the app at Cardiac Radio, okay? I'm just double checking here the system to make sure we're good. By the way, we have a new site of Cardiac Radio, and oh yes, we are working right on the app. And don't forget, this study is for Spiritist practitioners mostly. Of course, anybody is welcome, everyone is welcome, but these are recommendations and instructions that are given to those who would like to practice the Spiritist teachings, who would like to share the Spiritist teachings and participate in a team of Spiritist practitioners, not only in a particular center, but around the world. As I was talking to in a message to a friend today, you know, this message is to be shared anywhere. You could share it online, you could share it in your center, in your family, in your neighborhood. You know, a good idea is to do book clubs. You don't need to form a center. Go to a public library and form a book club on the Spiritist books. People don't need to be Spiritist. They just need to be interested in those books. And you talk about it. You read, talk about it. Open. That's one idea. The other one is about focus groups. You don't need to form a Spiritist center. The important point is not to convert people to Spiritism, but to share this message. So you can do groups online, like Sunshine started with her group online, right? Sunshine, Spiritism in Nevada County, and there's a particular day she's leading this systematic study by the Federation in the United States, and like Rihanna is doing in South Africa, and many people, many of you around the world. But you don't have to form a Spiritist group. You can open, again, a focus group. Use a public library space. Create a book club online or a focus group with a book club elsewhere. You know, sometimes in your condominium. Sometimes you have friends who are not Spiritists, and you say, you know, I know these beautiful novels, spiritual novels, that are beautiful stories. Oh, but you want to convert us? No, I don't. I just want to share. These are beautiful, beautiful stories. Why not? Right? So that's why we're here. Spiritist instruction by Emmanuel today. Right, friends? Yes, here we are. Hello, Cissa. How are you? And Léa Severo, how are you? Lívia Moraes, how are you? Rihanna. And Sunshine. Nico, how are you? Teresa Castro. And Paul Andrade, how are you? Adilson, how are you? Erika Zariti from Brazil. Thank you, Erika. So as Sunshine is saying, she's doing these studies every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. and every Saturday at 3 p.m. Intro to Spiritism Facebook Live. Okay, friends? Thank you, Sunshine. By the way, would like to thank our dear friends, Rihanna and Nico Williams in South Africa, who have donated to the campaign of the Spiritist Center in Brazil that is turning 100 years. Thank you so much, Rihanna and Nico. The campaign, I've just got to know I'm going to publish it soon in the campaigns page. A beautiful picture of the many packages by Karina, Lea Severi, Valéria Benfica, and many of you around the world who have been sending the books to the library. And they've sent me a picture, and we're very excited about it. So if you're an author or a publisher or any one of us, donate books to the Spiritist Center. It's a reference to the whole region. It's creating a bookstore, library actually, for the whole region, because in Brazil, it's not easy to have a library. You know, it's not easy to buy Spiritist books. I'm talking about majority of the people. I'm not talking about few of us, right? Thank you, Andre Moreira, for joining us and for helping as well. Thank you. Thank you, Ana Lúcia. Thank you, my friend. John De Rosa, who was there also teaching our children in the Spiritist Center of Virginia. Multitasker. Thank you, John De Rosa. Yes. So, Emmanuel, Spiritist Instruction, from the book Educandário de Luz, Educational Institute of Light. Let me read this message to you. It's truly deep, but let's practice this mindfulness, shall we, friend? Let's practice this mindfulness. How do I practice it? I know you may be there, tempted to surf the internet and do stuff, but while we're reading this, visualize Emmanuel, how he was bringing this message through Chico Xavier and the efforts of Chico Xavier. Let's feel more than the words, the teachings. Spiritist Instruction by Emmanuel through Chico Xavier. Meritorious school, the Spiritist Temple is a home of light, open to general instruction for the understanding of the laws governing the phenomena of evolution and destiny. Each brother of ideal between the walls that mark the enclosure to him is comparable to the professor, to the teacher who speak of the subject that belongs to him for the edification of the students. And let it not be said that an ordinary terrestrial institute of instruction, where professed explanations in class are paid, is more important. Mathematics is an inseparable instrument of science in order to measure the property of greatness, but without the education of character, it is possible to transform itself into the delusion of calculations for destruction. Perfect timing about this. We're going to break it down together. Linguistics unveils the structure of languages, but without the spirit of fraternity, the most skilled polyglot can be no more than a thinking dictionary. Psychology investigates the occurrences of mental life, unfolding itself in the intricacies of psychic analysis. However, without the study of reincarnation, it is reduced to a cold spotlight that uncovers evils and wounds without offering them comfort. History clarifies the past. However, it does not keep the objective of repairing the present history of those who receive its notes and information. An academic title attributes honorable brain competence, and yet, in spite of all the deontology scripts, it does not positively determine renewal of the sentiments. Let us love in the Spiritist Temple. Let us love the school of directives that guides us in choice and conduct. within it, let us sincerely open our souls to those who listen to us. And let us listen with respect to those who speak to us, exchanging experiences that correct our preferences and attitude. Above all the techniques that conform intelligence, the gospel, which enshrines the highest standards for the sublimation of the spirit, was born neither of rites, nor of impositions, nor of labels or external worships. The greatest message from heavens to the earth to dignify life and enlighten the heart arose from the unforgettable words of Jesus, who sought the people, and the people who sought Jesus. The Master. Talking about instruction, education, the Master. The students and the Master and the students. How many of us, therapeutic question, huh? How many of us around the world think that the hours that we spend at work, in school, in entertainment, is more important than the hours we spend in Spiritist instruction? Majority of people on earth, majority of the people who come to know of the Spiritist teachings. There are people, which is very common, who claim that we should give more attention to life and family, and Spiritism is just an appendix of our lives. That's not what we learned with Jesus. When people come to us and say, family comes first, we would reply back. We would reply back to them, saying, which family are you talking about? The universal family? Because if you're saying the universal family, you're right. Because that's the goal of Spiritism, to place our universal family first. Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, in an unprecedented passage of his life, at a time in which there was no internet, there was no cell phone, there was no fast ways of communicating with people. As a physician, he was taking care of his ill child. He medicated her. But suddenly somebody knocked at the door and said that there was another child, the child of somebody else, who needed his assistance. What did Dr. Bezerra de Menezes do? Remember, we're talking about a time in which transportation was not fast. Communication was almost inexistent beyond person to person. If he left to go elsewhere, he wouldn't be allowed to know what was going on with his child. Nowadays, I can say, Carlos, can you watch Virginia? I'll go and take care of this person. And if you need anything, text me, call me, and I come quickly by car, because everything is faster nowadays. But at Dr. Bezerra de Menezes' time, that doesn't exist. And what was his choice? Family first? Universal family first. He trusted, he had faith that his child was medicated. He knew God was taking care, though he didn't know personally what was going to unfold. And what did he do? He left to help another child who was not his. That is the ultimate lesson for all of us. And only Spiritism would explain. Right, Ney Nicolato? A big hug, adorable spirit. Adorable, as we say in Portuguese, fofinho. Right, Andrei? Both of you, fofinhos. And Elisete Corona, how are you? Rafael Medeiros and Karina Alice, beautiful Karina. Yes, friends, what a joy to be amongst friends. And Rudy. All right, Andrei. Fofinhos. Okay. So here, for those who don't understand Portuguese, when we say fofinhos, like cutie. Yeah, cutie, cutie, cutie. Right, Iane. Welcome, Iane. Let's break it down. When we read a message, there are techniques you can use. Since we're talking about Spiritist instruction, I've always taught my students at university how to read scientific papers. And reading Spiritist messages would also require that when we're studying, we break it down. One method you can use is this, okay? The first thing, you highlight the main expressions, the verbs, the actions, okay? But the main expressions in each paragraph, you highlight it. And then you can create a chart. One day, I can show it to you. I can prepare. Maybe tomorrow, God willing, I will make a chart and show to you how we can break down a message, okay? A message, so we can start almost like when we are in an anatomy lab or neuroanatomy lab, we dissect the brain. We break it apart to understand it. So a message to be understood needs to be broken apart. So how can we do it? First of all, we go paragraph by paragraph. Then we outline the main messages. And then we find the rationale behind it. It's almost like we see the anatomy and the physiology of a message. What do you mean, Vanessa? Anatomy is the structure. We first identify key words, key ideas. And once we find these key ideas, we observe how they are flowing. This is the physiology of it. And then we can start understanding deeper how these illuminated and wise educators like Emmanuel wrote this text. And there's much more to know than the words he used. Sometimes it's about the first idea and how he wraps up from beginning to end in a very particular way, creating analogies so we can understand the message more deeply. So here he begins by saying, Spiritist instruction. The first expression he uses is meritorious school. Okay? Meritorious school is the Spiritist temple. So he's telling us that the Spiritist instruction coming from a Spiritist temple that becomes a school that is honorable. So when, sincerely, people take Spiritist centers for granted. Many people say, but Vanessa, they take for granted because it's free. I don't think so, because there are many things we pay and yet we don't value them. Right? Erika Rizati, we are here in the United States. So, Meritorious School is the Spiritist Center, a home of light, where there is general instruction for the understanding of what? What do we study in Spiritist centers? Do you take for granted a Spiritist center? Do I? You know, I tell many people who live in places where there are many Spiritist centers, like in Brazil. I tell them, use and abuse of it. And I say abuse, quote unquote, because you have no idea what it is to live in the United States or places like ours where there is one Spiritist center in one state and there are many states there are no Spiritist centers yet. So when you, living elsewhere, go to Brazil, come on, stop by and visit a Spiritist center. Don't only visit your family and friends. Get to know of the Spiritist centers where they are in Brazil. And if you're traveling to England, go to the websites, research. If you're traveling from west coast of the United States to east coast, don't only visit. I see sometimes people visiting Washington, D.C., which is just around the corner, and they don't visit us here at Cardiac Radio or at the Spirit Center of Virginia. Come on, friends. Oh, but Vanessa, it's not meeting day. It doesn't matter. The center there, I live 5 minutes away from the Spirit Side of Virginia. And if you drop me a line saying, Vanessa, I would like to pay a visit, we'll open the center for you. We'll say a prayer with you. We'll read a message, show you the facility. For sure. Like this group that came from North Carolina, almost 25 people. They called us and said they would like to visit us and learn more. We created an event for them. For us and for them. We did. Why? Because that's what the Spiritist Center is all about. It's a home of light. Right? And our beautiful friend Andre Moreira is telling us here. He's saying, it's a true blessing having so many Spiritist centers available in Brazil. You're right. We know how much you struggle to maintain and offer a true Christian place that welcomes everyone, make every person feel that they are worth it. Thank you, Andre. Thank you for your support always. Okay? Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we count on your support always. By the way, Nicolato is here. Andre Moreira is here, the leader of the medical expeditions to regarding those efforts of Fraternity Without Borders. Angelita is here. And don't forget, friends, there's always a hand. You know, sometimes I spend money and I'm like, oh, I could have sponsored another family, another person at Fraternity Without Borders. $20 a year. What is it? Nothing, right? Compared to what people need. Okay? So, the Spiritist Center is a place that is there to teach us about evolution and destiny. But the big deal of this message is when Emmanuel tells us about other sciences, math, linguistics, psychology, history, medicine. Yes, we were saying this the other day in an interview that we gave to United Intentions. And we said, we've come to know science is beautiful, but science is not here searching to comfort you or to console me. No, science is here to learn about the laws of life. If at the end of the day it helps you and I, good. But that's not the reason why science is here, unfortunately. As a scientist, I can tell you, I've never been to meetings where scientists got together to find the relief of pain and sorrows. No. They wanted to understand and, if possible, create treatments. But that's a natural consequence of knowledge. Spiritism has the sole function to console us. How do I know? When you open the Gospel according to Spiritism and we think it clearly, when Jesus brought this message of consolation, he said, I'm going to send you the promised consoler that is going to stay with you until the end of times. And it's going to tell you what I can't. Friends, when it hurts inside, no pill can minimize moral pain. No scientific knowledge can minimize our sorrows, not even in psychology. But Spiritism brings us these invisible pills, this invisible treatment that comes to us and soothes our souls. It's saving lives as we speak. Right, Silvio Otero, my friend. And as our beautiful, beautiful Emmanuel says, an academic title is beautiful, but it does not bring to us a moral code. One that is going to help us, as he says, make wise choices. You know what that means? Tell your children. Tell your children. Because we make decisions according to our belief system. What's your belief system? Spiritism helps us boost the prefrontal cortex. Brother X in the book Among Brothers of Other Lands says, Spiritism is the light of discernment. As a neuroscientist, I can tell you, discernment is a byproduct of the modulation of the prefrontal cortex. When Spiritism is boosting this area, you're becoming more empowered. I am becoming more empowered. And thus, I live better. So let's not take for granted the Spiritist instruction. And Emmanuel brings to us 4 recommendations. First, let us love the Spiritist Center because it's a school of guidance so we can make wise choices. Right, Haiti Patrick? And he says, Emmanuel says to us, let us listen openly to those who listen to us. Let us open ourselves to them. You go to a Spiritist Center. Trust that the people who are there volunteering to do it, they are working with their best intentions to help people out. Every time I go to a Spiritist Center, I surrender myself. Whether I'm coordinating a meeting or not. People who are working there, they are making that choice. Volunteering for no penny, no money whatsoever to help people out. We need to open our souls to them and listen to what they're saying to us. I'll never forget the current president of the Brazilian Spiritist Federation, Jorge Godinho Neri, who helped us found the Spirit Side of Baltimore and also supported us with the Spirit Side of Virginia and has been supporting us in these efforts for 20 years, let's say the least. I remember once I was visiting Brazil in the Brazilian Spiritist Federation. Back then, in 2005, I think, he was seated next to me and we were watching a course given by Nestor Mazzori. Yeah, the one that is in the spiritual realm, also taking care of these beautiful works. Nestor Mazzori was giving a training on Spiritism for representatives of Spiritist movement around the world. And I saw some people, I'm saying this without names, leaving the room because they were saying, I already know this. I already read Kardec in that regard. And I saw Godinho next to me like this, paying attention. And I looked at Godinho next to me. I looked at Nestor Mazzori. It was so funny. I felt like a little child. I said, I know this as well. I read these books. I was so, proud of myself. And I wanted to go out, but Godinho was like there next to me. I'm like, Godinho, let me ask you this question. So I was whispering, don't you already know this? He turned to me very wisely with that inner calmness and firmness and said, Vanessa, there must be something here that I have missed. So I'm paying close attention to see what I have not got yet. That's humility. I learned with Godinho, I felt almost like a toddler next to a parent. And I sit still and I said, I'm going to do the same. So I started paying closer attention, looking at the explanations, and Godinho was right. There were many things that I didn't know. How often we're like this? I read this book, I know, I already know. But if we pay close attention, that's humility. That's what Emmanuel is telling us. When we go there, let's ask ourselves, what have I not understood yet? And open our souls. Right? Yes, Adilson, being Godinho's presence, we can feel his humility and sincerity. It was a blessing to know we have a president for the Brazilian Spiritist Federation, so humble. Gratitude. I agree with you, Adilson. Yes. And Paul Andrade is saying about something we said before, that her friends were asking each other how they are keeping their sanity in graduate school. And I had to say, I pray. Congratulations, my friend. You're good, right on. Yes. And Haiti Patrick is telling us, the Spiritist Center is the best school of the soul, teaching us how to change the point of view from materialism to spiritual values that enlighten our souls. And our beautiful musician from, Spiritist musician from, may I say this, Ana Mércia, Belo Horizonte, right? Yes, friends. Yes, we're so proud of the knowledge we have, and we forget there's so much more to learn. So Emmanuel is saying, when we enter the Spiritist Center, let us be reverent. Let's pay attention. And he says more. The gospel was born to help us with this inner, higher standards for the sublimation of the Spirit. Science tells us, that's just a fact, that those who know how to manage themselves emotionally, physically, they live better. Their relationships are better. There is even an experiment at Stanford University, the marshmallow experiment, showing how kids who are more self-controlled in the long run of life, they did a longitudinal study and found that those children have better relationships, better self-esteem, better mental health, better professional lives. So self-management is the key. And Spiritism hands us a whole handbook on how to handle ourselves. It's a handbook to handle ourselves. To manage ourselves. It's worthwhile. Telling ourselves, I can always learn something new, something else. And he tells us that the greatest message does not go in academia. There are people who are mesmerized by scientific knowledge, the material knowledge of science. It is beautiful. I know as a scientist how hard it is to build those knowledge, to create, to really get to the knowledge, the discoveries. But of all of them, as Emmanuel says, you see, he begins the meritorious school and he ends, the greatest message is of Jesus, which is exactly the one that we're studying in the Spiritist Center. How do you feel knowing that you are one of the few people on the earth who get a hold of this? Do you feel more responsible to do more? If you do, right on! That's it, friends. Let's meditate on this and rejoice, because life is immortal. Life is immortal. and we need to cultivate our immortality. Live our lives not as if we are bodies with a spirit, but spirits connected to a physical body. How much of your time do you dedicate to yourself as a spirit? Or do you dedicate your daily lives, 99% of it, to your material life, saying, what's your perspective in life? A spirit living on earth? Or a body that one day will no longer be here? Materialistic view, spiritual view. After all, we are children of God. We are children of God. We reincarnated to learn to do good. Reincarnation, the path of progress. Reincarnation, the way to become good. Reincarnation, the opportunity to achieve true happiness. Love you too, Rudy. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Sunshine. Thank you, Felipe. A big kiss and a hug. Thank you, Emmanuel, Chico Xavier, and Jesus. We feel so loved. Let's share the love. And tomorrow we come back. You know what for? The message by Emmanuel. It's a secret mission of the Spiritist Center. What? Come back. So tomorrow at 11 p.m., God willing, we will have more. Thank you, friends.